Hello, sword enthusiasts. We're talking about an antique that's in my possession today. This one lent by a good sword friend, Damocles. Shout out to my buddy over there. So this has been in sword daycare with me for a while, so you may have seen it in the background of some of my previous videos. And it is a Tulwar from India. So Tulwar just means sword in India, in several languages in the Indian subcontinent. And India as a whole has a variety of designs for swords, but from the Mughal conquest onward, so from approximately the mid-16th century onward, this type of saber in general has become the most popular of the sword designs that does exist in India, and it continues to through today. So even today, for instance, certain types of ceremony, for weddings, for Sikhs who want to wear a blade at their side, this general design is still seen very commonly in India. So this example is a 19th century example. I was discussing it briefly with one of my good friends who specializes in Indian arms and armor. His name, you can find his channel as Non-Sec Swords on YouTube, so we'll link to it below. Make sure you go and check out any content that happens to come out from him. And he was pointing out that we can tell that this is probably from northern India based on some of the stylistic designs that it has on it. So we see this very lovely silver, what is called koftgari designs that are put into it. And this was a technique that was largely falling out of use. It was almost an extinct practice under the British Raj during the 19th century, and so it only continued to survive in certain centers, including in northern India. So for instance, in Rajasthan, it continued to be in use, and so this perhaps is a demonstration of that. So a continuous living lineage of what was once a much more prolific art, and what we see on older examples of the styles of hilt. Other interesting things about the sword, you can see its point of balance is right around here. The point of balance is right about there. I'd have to measure it later, but I think it's going to be right around 8.5 centimeters from the cross. And it features a tremendous amount of distal taper. So it starts at about 7 millimeters on the spine here at the shoulders, and it continues to taper down to about this point here along the blade, where it's around 3 millimeters, and then it very quickly tapers into a false edge where there is a yelman. So this portion of the blade is very flat and thin, like many Turkic designs that you see in Central Asian swords and swords of India, some types of Persian designs, and certainly swords of the Ottoman Turks. So the back edge is fine enough that it could have an edge put on if you want. The front edge is still sharp to the touch. If I had a piece of paper, I could probably do cutting on it. What's interesting about this one is this is a particularly large hilt. So I have large hands. I'm wearing large size medical gloves on currently, and yet I can fit my hand pretty comfortably inside the restrictive hilt here. So once upon a time, if you were going to pick up a Tulwar, you likely would have gone and gotten it sized to you. Because of the nature of the hilt design, you want the hilt to be restrictively snug in your hand. So just like today we go and get shoes that are sized to us or gloves that are sized to us, the nature of Tulwar usage is one that it encourages you to have a restrictive hilt. So rather than having a hilt that's really big and make sure that your hand is swimming in it, the type of both crossguard and pommel really don't lend itself to having a small hand with the pommel coming back and clonking against the back of your hand. And obviously, if you have too small a grip, there really isn't much of an opportunity to get this hand out. I'll let my buddy Non-Sec expound upon theories that that some people have regarding that. But can you wield a saber with this type of a grip? Absolutely. And in fact, we'll go ahead and do a quick showcase with that, because this lends itself to a different type of swordplay than most Western sabers that do have lots of room. So a wakizashi, a dao, a Western style step saber, a military saber, all of them have much longer grips that can accommodate a kind of handshake style grip. And the Tulwar is notable in that it definitely encourages this kind of 90-degree junction between the fist and the direction of the blade. So do you really have the ability to still perform action with the Tulwar? Let's take a look. And again, remember, I am no expert in using the Tulwar, nor a practitioner of any type of Indian martial arts. But this type of hilt design is very secure in the hand, and with the type of swordplay that it was used with, which is primarily with a dal, with another shield, it still allows for formidable draw cuts, which this type of very curved edge design allows. What does that look like next to a Western style saber? Let's take a quick look. So you can see that the differences in hand position absolutely do allow for different types of cutting actions with the different types of sword. That does not mean one is superior to the other. You find different types of sabers on Indian swords than you do on Western swords. In general, Tulwar tend to be a little bit shorter and significantly more curved. This lines up with the type of swordsmanship that would be encouraged by having a restrictive hilt that encourages someone to get in close and perform drawing cuts with a very keen and sharp sword, and doesn't rely on the point nearly as much. I don't know much about their use in cavalry, so I will rely on anyone else who has records of Tulwar action with cavalry. I do know that Indian forces did use horsemen. There are a variety of different types of swords that are used in India, so it's possible that other types were used from horseback. But again, I've also seen a variety of different types of blade on even Tulwar. And this is a kind of average example, but I've seen much bigger blades on Tulwar than this particular one. So I figured I'd just take the opportunity to showcase what a Tulwar that happens to be my size can do, because it's very rare that I get to handle a Tulwar that I actually fit in and can perform. And I'm not going to do anything more aggressive with it, since this is a nice antique and it doesn't belong to me. So anyway, hope everyone found this entertaining. Until next time, guys, take care.